Hello, hello, hello. This is Tonya Bolden, author, co author, and editor of more than 40 books, most of them for children and teens. And I'm joining you today from my hometown of New York City. I'm in my home office, the place where I do most of my research, the place where I do most of the writing. And that writing includes this book, my latest, Changing the Equation 50 plus US Black Women in STEM. Changing the Equation is a celebration of Black women's contributions to science, technology, engineering, and mathematics from the 19th century up into the present. The first woman you meet in the book is named Rebecca Crump. This woman received her medical degree from a school in Boston back in 1864. In 1864, slavery was not yet abolished in America. When she received her medical degree, Black people weren't even citizens yet. And her career, amazing, stellar career as a physician, just reminds us that so much is possible, as does the work of other women you'll meet in Changing the Equation, from Ayanna Howard, who uses her brain to create robots that can assist children with special needs, to chemical engineer Paula T. Hammond, who specializes in nanotechnology. Some of her work has saved lives on battlefields. You'll meet in the book a marine biologist, a geneticist, a cybersecurity professional, an astronomer, and many more amazing women in different STEM fields. What inspired the book, you might wonder? Well, often one book leads to another. A few years back, I was working on a book, Pathfinders, about 16 extraordinary Black men and women in different fields. One of the subjects was the late Katherine Johnson, pioneering NASA mathematician. By the time I finished Katherine's profile, I just wanted to know more and more and more. I was super curious about other Black women in STEM. And I thought that, well, other people would be interested too. Because for the most part, when the subject is STEM, very often the names and faces of Black women are not top of mind. And I also hope that the book would inspire readers to consider charting courses for careers in STEM. When I think of the festival's theme, ingenuity, especially American ingenuity, I think of our current COVID crisis. I think of all the men and women across the country who are using science, technology, engineering, and mathematics to develop treatments and vaccines, to rethink medical supplies and equipment, and to reimagine spaces from schools to offices to get us through this, to make things better. I live in history, and libraries are my lifeline, especially the Library of Congress. I mean, it was at the Library of Congress that a few years ago I stumbled upon a journal of a remarkable but unknown, relatively unknown Black man from the 19th century, Michael Shiner. That discovery led to my book, Capital Days, Michael Shiner's Journal and the Growth of Our Nation's Capital. Another recent book of mine is Facing Frederick, about the very well-known Frederick Douglass. And that book was enriched because I had access to materials in the Frederick Douglass papers at Library of Congress. And it was at the Library of Congress, on a blog, that I learned about one of the amazing women in Changing the Equation, Josephine Sloan Yates. And it's thanks to the Library of Congress that I have a wonderful photograph of her in the book. And so for me, for my readers, libraries are portals, they are gateways to a world of knowledge, to discoveries, to adventures, and so much more. As a child, I hated history. And it wasn't that there was anything wrong with history. It was that what I received was flashcard history. It was cut and dry. It was boring, frankly. And then years later, I was doing some book reviewing for a magazine. I was reviewing only nonfiction. And I discovered biographies and histories and of eras and moments in history that just were so fascinating. And I realized that it was because it was the storytelling, and that if you tell history in an engaging, imaginative, creative, of course, factual, ever factual way, it can read like fiction, like fine fiction. And so I became on excuse me. And so embarked on a mission to make history come alive for young people, to give young people the kind of history, interesting, engaging, thought provoking, kindling curiosity, to give them history that I never had. As Dr. King said, we are made by history. If you don't know what has happened before, you don't have context for your present era. You don't understand what has shaped you and what has gotten you to this point. You know, it's like you want to understand debates about big government, small government. Well, you need to know about the New Deal, the Great Society. You want to understand race relations in this country, then you need to know about slavery, all of it. You need to understand debates about the Confederate flag. You need to really understand Civil War and Reconstruction, the period after. Oh, language, you know, Toni Morrison said language, that's all we have. We don't have color, we don't have music. We have to use words to create color and to create music. Um, I don't I don't like to write down to young people. Like I said, I want to kindle curiosity. So sometimes they may use phrases and words that maybe they don't know, but that they can figure out from context. Also, a good storytelling, using the same techniques people use in fiction and in poetry, whether that's alliteration, whether that's intrigue and drama, conflict, treating it as though I was writing fiction. Love language. I think it helps for some reason, I can't explain it, to know more than one language. Um, and you have to be a reader, and you have to think of yourself. First of all, you master the language in which you want to write. That's number one. And you read, and you have to understand that it is hard work. You know that it is what teachers tell you, that it's rewriting, it's rewriting, it's rewriting. Very often, when an editor gets my first draft of a book, it's probably my fourth draft. It's the first one that the editor is seeing. The times that we're in are extraordinary, and we've not been here before. Not everything at once. What I think is that, remember what another thing that Dr. King said, which is that we're all interrelated, and we all are human beings, and you need to reach out. If you're not unfamiliar with someone from a different culture, get to know that person, get to know their culture, because once that person is human and real to you, you will treat him or her like the human being that he or she is. Um, Read history so that you can understand why we got to this, and understand that very often people want to manipulate people into hatred and prejudice. And then ask, why do they want to stir up strife? Have hope, have hope, and know that we can get through this, and we can do better. Thank you so much for being a part of this fantastic festival. Keep hope alive, keep reading, keep learning, keep questioning, keep growing, keep increasing the peace. Thank you so much. Bye bye.